We are predisposed to blame the individual and not the company.
Well, what are the damages? How much should these people have to pay for giving someone anxiety? And then are we all going to get paid? Because pretty sure we all have anxiety.
Yeah.
Well. Hello, friends. Hello, new friends. We got like 150 new followers from a reel that Jessica created. So anybody who followed because of that reel may be seeing this and are like, who the hell is that blonde hoe? Sorry guys, I live here too. But we're so glad to have you if you're here.
We're so excited. We're just watching that number go up, and just know if you're in that number of new subscribers, you can now say you were there in the beginning.
Yes. When we are a huge deal, when we are testifying at Congress in our string bikinis, you can be like, I was subscribing when they were still wearing shirts. So we're glad to have you. If you feel like it, if you care to divulge, please let us know who you are, where you are, and what you want to hear about, what you want to know about. So far, we've been doing this for a few months, and our focus has been on sort of exposing the dark side of big tech and how that relates to the economy and politics and, you know, our whole lives. We're we're big tech haters, really. Like, we're haters.
It's a complicated relationship.
Yes, it's a very complicated relationship, but
we, in this beginning phase of our social media creator journey, we're figuring out who our audience is, but at the same time, everyone else in the world is figuring out how they feel about AI. So we're sort of live developing, we're like live workshopping who our audience is and will be. And what we're finding is that, we'll just say it, Sophie, we're learning. People want to see AI shit the bed real bad.
They want to see it face plant. They want to see it just crash and burn.
Every time it does, it's, and I get it. It's like, we all feel it that we're being sold something that we don't want. And so when the proof is in the pudding and we can talk about it and expose it, it's of interest to people. But that's everywhere. You can find the holes everywhere. But yeah, we really want to understand what people want to hear about and want to know about. And I gather that, and we talk a lot about this, Sophie, that our podcast and our platform isn't really for the person that works, is a software engineer. They're listening to the software engineer podcasts. These are for people who are interested in tech, but aren't necessarily tech workers, which I think is important. We have a lot of tech focused podcasts from people who are inside the industry. And if you work in any industry, you know that your viewpoint of it just can't be totally accurate because you're inside of it and not outside of it. So I think it's important to have both perspectives. And for the people who are outside, we need the outside perspective and not there's so many podcasts where people they work for AI companies and they're making AI podcasts. There's not a lot that aren't like that.
We're from Hollywood, guys. Don't hate us for that, but we're from the film and television industry. So sorry about that, and we promise not to be
Sorry, we apologize. Well, in our defense, we're kind of not. We're
kind
no
of
jobs
not anymore. Yeah, Hollywood is going down the toilet, so we're sort of time to exit stage left. Yeah. But we worked, for those of you who've been here from the beginning several months ago, you already know this, so sorry guys. But for the newbies, Jess and I worked together at a company that did animation, and they also had a sort of tech wing to their how they did the animation. And so while we definitely weren't working in the tech industry, we were sort of tech adjacent, and we were very curious about AI, and we were very excited about it a year ago. And over the last few months, as we've started doing this podcast, we've we've grown less excited and more concerned. And that's generally, I think, where the direction that we're going in now is like, everybody be careful. Oh, be careful, guys. Yeah.
And for the record, I think we say we're tech adjacent, but I mean, we were working directly with software. I mean, software engineers were sitting next to us and we were working directly with them in order to get animation done. And Jira cards were involved. And if Jira cards are involved, then we worked in tech. So yeah, come on.
And then
we need credit.
I should say, we got to give ourselves credit where credit is due. And then I should say, spoiler alert, if you're new here, that company closed down.
Yeah.
It went out of business, partly because there was a lot of AI panic in the animation industry. So anyways, now we find ourselves here and we're having a blast. That's our spiel. We're stoked that you're here.
Sophie, can I just say one thing before we move on? AI has killed VR. What's the song?
Video killed the radio
star. AI
killed the VR star.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this. What is, because we know a lot of people who work in VR from the company that closed down that we all worked at. And I'm seeing all of them saying that they can't find jobs anywhere. So I assumed that there was something quite bad happening in that area of the industry.
You and I worked at a company that utilized VR and real time to create animation. And it was really cool. The AI panic set in and nobody wanted to adopt a VR pipeline when AI was around the corner. It would turn out that AI wasn't around the corner, but the anticipation of it being around the corner would cause pretty much no one to fully invest or adopt our pipeline, which was amazing. Our VR pipeline for animation was a game changer. I mean, we could make stuff so fast. We could iterate it on 1,000,000 times and it was good and it was cool. And it was a fascinating company to work at. The AI panic more or less pretty much shut down the company. On top of that, a few months later, Meta would lay off basically the majority of its VR department and would stop making really popular VR apps that people use every day. In addition, I was interviewing for a VR company that was steadily growing that has ghosted me and got pretty far to the end with nearly an offer, and then they just disappeared. But that company, I'll just say it, it's VR Chat, which is a really successful virtual reality chat room. And it's been around forever. And they've all, despite VR being popular and unpopular or whatever phase VR is in, it's been an unbelievable community of people who are like diehard. In fact, I learned interviewing at VR Chat, they have, I don't think I signed an NDA. The majority of staffers at VR Chat came from the community. Like everyone who works there, except for probably some top executives, were found and hired from the VR Chat community.
That's cool.
Community is extremely tight-knit. And tech companies have turned their back on VR because of AI, when I truly believe that people still want VR and still care about it, and that it actually could have had a really strong future, and that AI has completely taken that out of the cards. I hope that once the bubble bursts, which I genuinely think it's going to do, I think AI will continue, but not in the same way that we are expecting it to. And I think somewhere in the dark, VR will emerge. Steam VR, which is, they're pretty like anti-big tech. They like are a lot better of a company than Meta, for instance, came out with a VR headset. So we'll see how, I need to do more looking into how that's doing. But it's really sad to see VR get this treatment because of AI, because it's a really amazing technology, and I hope it comes back. And if you're listening to this and you like VR, please let us know.
Now, I know you're a gamer. I am not a gamer at all. The only games I play are mind games on other people, on my ex-boyfriends. But what about the video game industry? Wasn't VR a huge part of the video game industry?
It's more like a sector. A VR
Okay.
game is built totally different than a non-VR game, and you kind of have to take a whole different approach to it. So if VR goes down, the video game industry is still massive.
Alive
So
and well. Okay.
yeah, they do have their own problems with AI and staffing, but if VR shuts down, the video game industry, at least at this point in time, is still doing okay.
Interesting. Whew. Okay. There you have it, guys. A little bit of our backstory and a little bit of RIP VR. I'm not really involved in it and probably won't work at a VR company again, but I'm sad that like people who were really into it lost something that they really were really into.
Yeah.
That
It's sad.
sucks.
Meanwhile,
Oh,
all the
okay.
teenagers who just got social media banned from them, I'm like, you don't need it. Get it the hell out of here. Get the kids off social media. They don't need
Get 'em
online
off.
communities.
Get them off. Oh my god.
Go outside.
Okay.
Anyways,
what are we moving on to? What do we got? What do we got coming up?
I really want to talk to you about what's going on with the landmark social media cases that are
Yes.
happening right now, which
Yeah.
they are getting coverage, but it's kind of falling under the radar a little bit.
We got some bigger fish to fry right now in the world, like a huge worldwide pedophile ring. But we talked about that last week. We don't want to go there again. So yes, the news cycle has been a little weighed down with other things. But let's talk about this.
Yes. So I am obsessed with social media companies on trial. I think it's super fascinating. And here's why.
Uh-huh.
Section 230. Everybody, the second you start looking into like social media company law, Section 230 comes up all the time. And let me back up and explain what's going on with these landmark trials, and then I'll come back to Section 230. Right now, a series of landmark trials are going to determine a lot about the future of social media. And I think it's a really big deal, but because of the crazy news cycle, we're not paying attention. And the other reason we're not really paying attention is because if you ask anybody, is social media addictive? They're going to say yes. So
Yeah.
the public has no argument whether social media is addictive or not. So when we hear that the social media companies are arguing that they're not, we're all like, okay, but you are, so whatever.
Yeah.
So TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, and Meta are all on trial, and they're being accused that their social media platforms were designed to be addictive on purpose. And what's happening is there's thousands of lawsuits against these companies. But right now, we are in the first hearing in California, and whatever that result is basically going to establish what the precedent's going to be for the rest of them. The plaintiff, who is a minor, who they're calling like KRG as code, is arguing that these social media companies got her addicted at a young age and led to her having severe anxiety and depression. And I think when people hear this, they might all agree that social media is addicting, but there's immediately people feeling like, okay. And like, okay, girl.
I
like,
might be one of those people.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it too. Like, that was my first instinct, was kind of like,
money grab, like a money grab. It's kind of like, and we talked about this in one of the first episodes we did, where it's like when you hear the thing about that famous or infamous court case about the lady who spilled hot coffee from McDonald's on herself and got millions and millions and millions of dollars. And I think the instinct for a lot of people was like, well, she's clumsy, and like, I'm sure I've spilled something hot from a restaurant on myself before. Like, where's my $1 million? You know, I think it has a similar vibe to that. But then it ultimately was like this woman got like 4th degree burns or something. It was actually like quite horrific, right? Like when you look at the details, it's quite horrific. So I'm curious as to like if the case is open, what evidence is this girl bringing? I'm guessing reports from her psychiatrist and but yeah, it's that thing of like, well, what are the damages? How much does anxiety cost? How much should these people have to pay for giving someone anxiety? And then are we all going to get paid? Because pretty sure we all have anxiety.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is there are thousands and thousands of these cases in the wings after this girl, because so many people want to hold these social media companies accountable. So like you said, the first instinct is to be like, well, that's a money grab. There's a few reasons that will make you change your mind.
Okay.
The first reason is, just like you said, that McDonald's case is famously backed sort of by a campaign to make people feel like anytime a lawsuit comes on a big company, that it's a money grab. And she was totally mocked and made fun of for trying to get money from a big company for spilling hot coffee. But it turns out, like you said, she had massive burns all over her body, and the coffee was like something like 200 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that.
It was bad. I was like, yeah, why was the coffee that hot? Like,
yeah,
fucking calm down, McDonald's. Like, please.
We are predisposed to blame the individual and not the company. The second reason is because we know, you and I specifically, we know about ads and their algorithms and how they target people. The book Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams, and she was a very important executive that worked directly with Mark Zuckerberg, gives a lot of examples in her book about the nefarious ways that they targeted people. But one of those examples that we've talked about a lot, that I find super fascinating and scary, they had an ad algorithm that would, let's say a young girl under 18 posted a selfie. If she deleted it, like within 24 hours, they would target her and send her a beauty ad. Now, to me, if you could prove that in court, that is pretty damning evidence.
Yeah, that's bad.
The third reason is that in the trial, which is not televised, it's closed, but it's not closed to the public. People can show up and attend. But the front row, apparently, is all people holding pictures of their dead children.
Like kids who died by suicide, I'm assuming? Like,
yes. So I'm going to share my screen.
Because I guess the question becomes like, okay, yeah, these people probably do deserve compensation, but then it will open the floodgates for these lawsuits. But maybe it should. Maybe it should open the floodgates. Maybe social media companies should be shut down.
Okay. This is an illustration of the CEO of Instagram yesterday testifying. And you can see in this photo, these are parents outside reacting to the hearing they just heard from the CEO of Instagram. Wow. But there's a lot of people there, and then there's a lot of parents in line whose children committed suicide as a result of social media. So backing up a second, Section 230 is the law that states social media companies cannot be held liable for user-generated content on their platform. Just because a user does something illegal in a video or something on their or post, we can't hold social media companies liable. There's a lot of arguments about whether that's good or bad. And pretty much if the right is in power, the left thinks it's bad. And if the left is in power, the right thinks it's bad. Ooh. And that's because if they can't be held liable for anything and they say something damning, or if a user posts something damning or untrue about a politician, then that politician calls the company and says, you need to take this down right now. And the company's like, we don't have to. So it's a really, I think I want to do a whole video on Section 230 because it's the history of it's fascinating, how politicians and countries around the world operate with these social media companies, and the fact they don't have to be held liable for anything. It's really fascinating. But that's not what this is, because the argument is not about holding these companies accountable for user-generated content. It's that they had algorithms that were specifically designed to get kids addicted. And these lawyers are using the tobacco arguments from several decades ago that were successful, that proved that these companies were intentionally trying to target children and were not disclosing the dangerous information that they knew about their product. Now, these plaintiffs and their teams think that there is evidence and documents within these companies that prove that they knew about these addictive behaviors and they knew about what their algorithm was doing. And not only did they not do anything about it, but they chose to amplify it. And there's already some hints of evidence coming for it. The problem that it's not super public, because an algorithm is claimed to be proprietary. So it's like their secret recipe. And so they're like, we can't share this because it's a trade secret. So these documents are being viewed in a very tight, sealed way that it's going to be hard for the public to ever know about. But the interesting thing about these trials is that they're being reviewed by a jury instead of a judge making the final verdict. And their social media companies are freaking out about this because regular people all think social media is bad. That is a very popular opinion. Yeah. And so the legality of the situation is going to be left up to jurors. So it'll be very interesting to see where they land. If they decide these companies did this on purpose, they will obviously have to pay a huge fine. But I'm interested in how this will be solved from a legislative standpoint. Like, what's the new rule? Like, what's the limits going to be?
So let me see if I'm following this, because there's multiple different things happening with social media at the moment, and I know we don't want to spend the whole episode talking about social media law and like all the drama of social media right now, but I know you could talk about it all day long, but just so I'm understanding, tell me if I'm right about these things. So right now in the world of social media, several legal things are happening. First and foremost, we have the social media bans that are happening in several countries, including Australia. It started in Australia, now Spain, and it seems like the UK might be going into banning social media for people under the ages of 16. So that's one aspect of it, right? That's one thing. The next thing is, in the US only, we have these lawsuits from individuals who are suing the social media companies for damages for getting anxiety, or like having that it's caused them some type of damage. So these are lawsuits brought by individuals, and they're suing the social media companies. And you're telling me there's a line of people who are waiting to go for their hearings. But this first case is this girl KRG, and she's still alive. She didn't throw in the towel, but she had major anxiety, right?
That's correct.
That's the second part of this. The third part is Section 230, right? Which is the law that currently stands in the USA that protects social media companies, or I'm assuming any type of website. I'm assuming? I could be wrong?
No, yeah.
Just
computer
social media?
interactive systems. Section 230 is like 30 years old. So this is like when the internet, you're right.
Started.
Basically the internet.
Got it. Okay. So Section 230 is the law that currently exists saying that you can't hold a social media platform liable for something that somebody else says on their platform, on that platform, but Section 230 doesn't overlap with the algorithm thing. Like, those are two completely separate things, right? Because I'm seeing a lot of people, I saw Joseph Gordon-Levitt get up and make a speech at the, like, pushing for Section 230 to be changed. And then I saw somebody made a reel saying, while on the surface it seems like it would be a good idea, it actually would be a huge problem in terms of like free speech and moderation, and giving the company more power over like what they wanted to moderate and what they don't want to moderate. So is that everything? Because that's a lot, and I'm struggling.
No, you just organized my word vomit into actual structure, so I'm actually really grateful. So we should just cut out everything I said and just start there.
No.
But
that's a lot. That's a lot going on with social media.
It is, and you are right that Section 230 is separate, except that it gets brought up all the time with these conversations, and so people are automatically thinking, because it's such a complicated and hot topic, and it is kind of the rule of digital law. It's like the strongest, like it's sort of a 30-year-old law that's reigning over our social media companies, and it's both.
What are your thoughts on it? Because I got to say, this girl who did the reel after, like, she clipped Joseph Gordon-Levitt's speech, and she was like, when they bring out a Hollywood actor who's crying about, like, oh, I'm a dad and think of the children, it's never a good sign, and blah, 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 blah. And as we've mentioned before, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, yes, he's a Hollywood actor, he's a dad, but he's also married to Tasha McCauley, who left OpenAI because she was concerned about the safety of it for human beings. So he has a little bit more context than just some random Hollywood dude coming in being like, I'm going to talk about this. But I gotta say, like, this girl's reel. I'll try to find it and link it in the bottom in the show notes if anybody wants to watch it. But it kind of convinced me. I was kind of like, yeah, maybe Joseph Gordon-Levitt has this wrong.
I agree with you, because I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and I think every time he pops up on social media to talk out, like speak out against big tech, he gets a lot of hate and comments that are like, oh, this Hollywood actor should go back to the Hollywood, and he's a millionaire. Like, it's always such dumb comments, and I don't think that's a good justification. However, his speech on 230 was really bad. Like, no matter which way you fall into it, felt like he prepared it 5 minutes ago. It felt really disingenuous, and I actually think if Joseph Gordon-Levitt would have done 5 more minutes of research on this, which seems very well informed on everything else he's ever talked about, so this felt like a really weird,
like a misstep.
Instance.
Yeah, it felt like a misstep, and he usually seems very genuine, and he usually seems to have the right idea about regulations and stuff like that. But I think, like, the fact that this law, this 30-year-old law, that applies to an industry that has moved so fast and continues to move so fast, it sounds like, maybe this law needs to be adjusted, but I don't think him arguing that it should just be like overturned completely, that seems like throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
You're 100% correct. The solution is not to repeal it. The solution is not to keep it as is. The solution is to come up with a solution to a completely different problem. And to stop and just real quick with Section 230. Right now, it provides immunity for social media companies and websites based on user-generated content. If that goes away and companies are suddenly responsible for user-generated content, they're going to moderate and silence and censor the shit out of everything that gets posted. And they're going to do it based on whoever is in power. So if there's a chance they could get sued, or Trump targets social media companies and he has an actual law to support that, then, like, that's the end. That's the end.
Forget about it. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this seems like maybe something that Joseph got wrong, and we'll let him have one pass. But Joseph, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are, I'm sure you are one of our new 150 followers. But if you're listening, Joseph, maybe you need to do a little more reading into this.
But I will say, I do think that companies are still choosing what we see. So despite the fact that we don't want them to moderate based on the law, I do still think that they are moderating based on the law. Does that make sense? Like I still think that
based on the law or based on the
who's in power
agenda of
that's what
who
I mean.
The CEO is, like
exactly
what their affiliation is, which essentially right now everyone's kind of being held hostage to being affiliated with Trump, because otherwise he will ruin their lives.
And there's plenty of evidence for this, because all the time, whenever some event is going on in another country or in America, like super right-wing violent groups are forming on Facebook, someone's going to call Mark Zuckerberg and say, you need to close this group. And each time this happens, Mark Zuckerberg has to make a decision on which groups he's going to silence. And he picks and chooses based on what group it is. And he's agreed, the Myanmar situation was him agreeing to shut down groups that were gathering on Facebook to resist their government. So it's so complicated, but there's got to be better solutions out there than what there is now. So it's hard to talk about these conversations without mentioning 230, but this is different. I think that there is, whether or not they find the evidence, I do 100% think that companies, social media companies, have intentionally made an algorithms that will drive growth at any cost. And that's their, Cory Doctorow says it all the time. Like, we can't really get mad at companies who don't have any legal guardrails to not do certain things. Like, if something is going to be allowed for them to do, they will do it because they can. And that's just the facts. There are not giant companies that don't take opportunities because they are immoral.
Not in capitalism, baby. No one has morals in capitalism.
If the public demands morality, then they might adhere to that, but it's not because they're choosing morality over growth. It's always
not because they want to sleep better at night, because they're sleeping just fine.
Exactly.
I have one last question, unless you have more to say about this. But this question is about the hearings, about the trials that are happening right now. Not about Section 230, not about the social media ban, although it kind of maybe ties into the social media bans that other countries are implementing. So right now, these hearings that are happening about causing people anxiety and stuff, are they all from minors?
No, it's a mix. Minors, adults, parents of dead children. So it's all walks of life.
I don't know if that's going to fly. I mean, because I immediately go to thinking of other things that are dangerous, like drinking and smoking. And I guess with grown-ups, we are like, if you want to drink and smoke, go ahead. And this is why you're saying that they're using a lot of the original big tobacco as case studies. So the argument is that we didn't know that social media was addictive.
Right. It wasn't disclosed. Yeah.
It wasn't disclosed. Okay. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'd be curious to find out how many people actually did successfully sue big tobacco for their lung cancer. Like, before they were finally just like, all right, guys, I think we can all now agree that everyone knows now, right? Everybody knows that smoking kills you, and we're going to put the pictures of the stuff on the boxes. So let's just, enough lawsuits now. Like, when did that happen? I'd be curious to know when they drew the line there, and like how many people got a payout before they were like, all right, can we all just agree that we all know now and you can't sue us anymore?
Yeah. So I will add, just lastly, Snap and TikTok settled immediately. So
do we know
which
for how much? They settled. So wait, so is KGB suing all the social media companies? Wait, KBG?
Yeah,
Notorious B.I.G.?
I think she's suing a group of them. Yeah.
Okay. So Snap and who else?
TikTok settled.
Settled with this girl. They settled with her.
Yeah. My feeling is that they do have evidence that they made things addictive on purpose and they didn't think they could fight it. But Instagram and so Mark Zuckerberg is going to sit on the stand and defend Facebook. So I'm going to be tracking that very closely. And YouTube's argument is we're not a social media platform, so don't associate us with them.
Yeah.
Which they kind of can argue, but they still have really complicated targeting algorithms and endless scrolling. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I think YouTube is more about like radicalizing people rather than preying on like the way you look. Although
100%.
if you look at my search history, it's a lot of, as you know, Jess, it's a lot of weird skin devices that I bought.
Weird torture devices.
A lot of weird torture devices that I bought for anti-aging that I probably shouldn't have bought. But anyways, that's besides the point.
I think
so they've settled. That's wild. Should we file? Should I file? Like, should we get in there and file before they run out of money to pay victims? I've got anxiety.
I know.
Anyways, oh my God. We've talked about this for a long time.
We really
We
have.
should probably move on. Shall we look at our reel for this week?
Yeah,
and do our little segment we like to call Real Talk. Let's take a look.
Should. I'm going to share it here. Okay, so there's an interesting reel that's been circulating. If you're watching this, you may have seen it already. But let's roll the clip.
What did you study in college?
Literature.
Literature. Would you study that again, knowing about AI?
You know, I think my answer on this is actually a little bit funny, which is that I ultimately believe in a world where AI is very smart and capable of doing so many things. The things that make us human will become much more important instead of much less important. And what I mean by that is when we look to hire people at Anthropic today, we look for people who are great communicators, who have excellent EQ and people skills, who are kind and compassionate and curious and want to help other people. Because at the end of the day, people still really like interacting with people. And in an ideal world, AI will complement those skills, right? It will make those things about us better instead of worse. And to go back to your direct question, I actually think studying the humanities is going to be more important than ever. A lot of these models are actually very good at STEM, right? But I think this kind of idea that there are things that make us uniquely human, understanding ourselves, understanding history, understanding what makes us tick, I think that will always be really, really important. And I think the ability to have critical thinking skills and learn how to interact with other people will be more important in the future rather than less.
What are your thoughts on this?
I have so many thoughts on this.
Hold on, before we go any further. Who was that? Who was that lady?
This was Daniela Amodei. She is the president of Anthropic. And
so is she married to Dario or is she his sister?
His sister.
Siblings are dating anyone? Wow. Okay.
So they both used to work at OpenAI and they left OpenAI and started Anthropic, who are now, as we've talked about, competing head to head. We are both Claude. Claude is the LLM that Anthropic, that's their ChatGPT. Sophie and I are both Claude users.
We're Claude girlies. We ditched
Claude girlies.
OpenAI. Yeah.
So this theory we've heard before. This is not like if you're in the AI social media, like the deep AI social media circles, you have heard this theory that like humanities are becoming more important. And when I first heard that, I was like, yeah, like awesome. That's so cool. And now I've come around and I'm like, Fuck off. And the reason I feel that way is because, so the two ends of the spectrum have heard now is that you better learn how to be a plumber. And now we've also heard you need to study the humanities and know how to interact with people. And when I hear that, what I hear is there will be jobs for the rich and there will be jobs for the poor. And there's jobs for people who can afford college in the future, and there's jobs for people who can't. Like when I picture people studying humanities and people doing like blue collar work, I think about like the 19th century, the 17th century when
like Downton Abbey type vibes of like upstairs, downstairs. Like
you
there's
have
the
people
maids
who don't,
and the
exactly. Like you have people who don't really have real jobs except for like reading books, and they all were very into philosophy and art, and they studied the humanities, and everyone else just like worked the estate. So it's like that. That's after hearing about everybody saying, learn how to be a electrical engineer or a plumber. I'm like, what about the middle jobs? If we don't have middle jobs, then
the white collar
completely
middle class.
Separated. We've completely separated the two. So I do. It is nice to hear that. It's actually good. It makes a lot of sense. It really does. But it just like it just worries. It still worries me.
Yes. My initial thoughts, and I think I mentioned this to you when you originally sent me this reel. If nothing else, even if this girl is completely bullshitting us, she is an incredibly convincing spokesperson, and she shits all over Sam Altman, Elon, Peter Thiel, all those other guys who are out there trying to convince us that we should get on board with their product. I don't believe them for a second. I look at Sam Altman talking about, sure, maybe AI will take everyone's jobs. Maybe it will take my job. Maybe we'll have an AI president, but that's kind of cool, right? I'm like, no, bro, it's not fucking cool. Get back in your bunker and shut the fuck up. Those guys aren't appealing to anybody except other psychopath tech bros. This girl seems super fucking genuine, and like I said, even if she's lying, I still believe her right now. And I
don't think she's lying, for the record.
I think she believes what she's saying, but maybe she just hasn't fully crossed over to the dark side, and hopefully she doesn't. But it's hard not to be in an industry where so much money is involved and not sell your soul to the devil. So that's my first point. She's an incredibly captivating and appealing spokesperson for the brand and for the product. I'm like, if she's the CEO of this company and she's telling me that there's going to be a place for us in society, and maybe I feel excited because I am somebody who studied the arts. I studied creative arts. And part of capitalism actually sort of like the arts kind of, you know, the humanities and stuff was kind of like, why would you do that? Like we had this joke, me and my friends who I did my university degree with have this joke that, well, we got that degree, good thing if we ever run out of toilet paper, we can wipe our ass with it, you know, because it's like the most useless, like, I have a bachelor's degree in creative arts, like, wow. You know, people sort of assume you did like finger painting or whatever, but, so maybe that's why I like what she's saying.
Yeah.
That this capitalism will, or these like white collar corporate America hustle culture where you go to your desk and you log in and you go do 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 and you can't have a personality. You just have to essentially like go ahead and do your job and clock your hours and don't complain and then go home, and then you can live. You can, you know, if you're not married to your job, hopefully you might have some time to do your hobbies and interests like your music or your art or your reading or your whatever on the weekend. So to me, I'm like, this sounds actually pretty good. But I think I'm looking at it through rose-colored glasses. I'm looking at it with a lot of hope. And the reality is it probably isn't going to be like that. Like, yes, while having a high EQ might get you further in those super senior roles, and being super tech savvy, which may have held some people who did have a high EQ back in certain fields if they weren't as tech savvy but they had a high EQ. I personally consider myself to be one of those people. I feel like I'm good with people, but I'm not necessarily super tech savvy. So I'm thinking, oh, this could be great for me. But yeah, I think you're right about the fact that we're going to lose the white collar middle class, and that is a huge percentage of the population.
Yeah.
Like a huge percentage. And not everybody in those roles wants to study the humanities. And not everybody in those roles like wants to go and be a leader. Like some of those people do genuinely just want to go to work, get paid a decent salary so that they can go home and spend time with their family. And that's fine. That's okay. So like to wipe out this like massive section of the workforce and say, well, don't worry, because like just go and improve your EQ and do a pottery class and like read the Shakespeare sonnets and you'll be fine. It's wishful thinking. Yeah.
And a great example of this is there was a ad at the Super Bowl for Artlist, and it was an AI generated ad, and it got a lot of hate. And on LinkedIn, some guy, I don't remember his role, but he had helped make the commercial, and he tried to do a post. We should just have a whole series, Sophie, where someone tries to defend their work on LinkedIn and they just get absolutely destroyed. Because
I love it. It's my guilty pleasure now. It's like watching a soap opera. If I want some drama, I click on my LinkedIn feed, and without a doubt, there's someone just losing their shit, and then in the comments, there's a pile on and just rage fights happening, and I love it. I love it. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
This guy was defending. He was like, hey, this wasn't just a prompt. Like before you judge our commercial, take a look behind the scenes. And it was this behind the scenes of how there were a group of them who had to really think and plan, and they had to do all this work. It was just like, it was with their minds, you know, it wasn't with their hands, it was with their minds. And, but the reality was, it was like a picture of 6 people. And the example of that is, yes, you guys, good job. You still had to work, but you only needed 6 of you, and the hundreds of other people that would have worked on this didn't have a job.
Hundreds of people. Yeah.
So if it is really about the humanities and blue collar workers, there's not a lot of jobs for that. That's like probably like 4% of the jobs that exist right now. So I don't know. I could be totally wrong on that fact, but I just feel like if it's the humanities and blue collar work, you've just wiped out jobs you don't need hundreds of people with humanities degrees working at the same company. You would probably need 3. So I do think she's right. It's just,
there's not going to be enough jobs. There's not going to be enough. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Humanities, those skills will probably be more useful, but there's just not going to be enough jobs in humanities to give all the people on the planet a decent career.
Yeah. And that's kind of already happening, where right now it's starting to happen, where, you know, the promise used to be, if you worked hard and got a college degree, you could have a decent life. And now, even somewhat affluent parents who are putting their kids on that path, like the second that starts happening at a bigger scale, that's really when some serious resistance is going to be coming toward our government, because that's going to be when, and I feel like it's already happening. I mean, kids are in college right now with zero guarantee of an entry-level job, with a lot of entry-level job descriptions saying, come back when you have 10 years experience.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
I feel like that's I forget who I heard say this, but that's really going to be when things really break down, is when a significant number of people are jobless after working their butts off and working hard in college and not getting anything in return.
Yeah, and then they've got mountains of student loan debt if they've gone to college in the US. Yeah, it's really bad.
All right, let's end this on a fun note. Well, fun for me, probably for literally no one else.
I want to hear about this. I'm excited. Listen, I feel like a lot of the people who recently followed us based on your reel might be interested in this.
Okay, we'll see. I made an app, and I am so excited to show it to you. It's not ready to be debuted. She's still being worked on.
Beta? She's beta? Is that the word they use?
Yeah, she's in
beta testing? Okay.
She's in beta. But so I am using Claude Code to vibe code. And if you don't know what vibe coding is, that just means instead of coding, you just like basically tell your LLM to write the code for you.
Yeah.
And I have been messing around with vibe coding for a while now, but even 6 months ago, it wasn't really successful. Like I could get halfway there, but I couldn't get all the way there. But I made some fun stuff, but it was just like I could never push it all the way to the finish line.
Okay.
So I came back recently to Claude Code with an app idea. And I've probably worked on it for a total of like 6 to 7 hours. And it is like ready to be, right now it is ready to be deployed. Like I feel like I could there's probably be security issues with it, and it would cost me a lot of money if I actually put it on out to the public, but it is fully functional.
Why would it cost? It's fully functional. Can you tell me, let's say you wanted to put this in the App Store. Why would that cost you money?
Because the more subscribers and the more users you have, the more server space and database space, and I'm basically right now using a free trial of like 3 different hosting companies that help me run this app. There's the backend database, there's the like domain server, and there's the code repository and the AI tokens. So all of those things go up the more users you have. So when it's just, and honestly, I don't want us to debut what the app is yet, but you and I could use this app together, just us, and we would benefit from it. And the thing that is cool about that, and that's why if you've been following the market, software sales, not software sales, SaaS, software, which stands for software as a service, which is just software.
They're tanking. They're drowning.
And that's because right now we're in an era where I don't have to subscribe to some
you can make your own
software that's actually not doing exactly what I want it to do. I can go make it. And I had that idea, and I've tried out other apps that are similar to this, and I've paid for them, and they didn't give me what I wanted. And so I decided what I wanted, put it into a prompt, and 3 days later I have a completely functional app that I'm already benefiting from, and that we're going to benefit from.
Tell me this. I'm assuming you're using it on your desktop right now. Is that correct? Okay. So if you wanted to use the app on your phone, would you have to put it in the App Store?
Not if I'm just using it on the web.
Okay.
But I don't want to just use it on the web. Like you do, if you are only using it on the web, on your phone, you lose a lot of functionality. So I am, as my last step, trying to make an app. I don't know what that means.
You mean for the phone? You're trying to make it an app for the phone.
I want to be able to use our app through the phone.
Got it. Okay. But
that
using
does
the
cost
browser.
money.
Got it. Okay.
And if you want to make money off of it, that's a different story, right? I'm not trying to make money off of it, so it will be possible for me to make an app and publish an app that I can use personally. But if I want to put it on the App Store, then that's a whole nother ball game. and Apple takes 30% cut if anybody pays you for anything. 30%.
That's wild.
That's not in the. I do have a dream for us that instead of everybody selling a course, we have like 20 apps that people can use, but that are hyper specific to our podcast. But I have so many ideas.
Last question. I know you've done a beginner's coding course several years ago. So you had a little bit of experience playing around with code. How far away from somebody who's done no coding, how far away do you think we are from, let's say, me? I know what code is. I know essentially like how it functions, but I've never done a coding course. Could someone like me use Claude Code to vibe code something? Or would you recommend that if people want to get into this, they should? I know we've said before, everyone should do a beginner's coding course. But like how far away do you think we are from just like normies figuring out how to do this self-taught, like self-teaching each other or themselves? Yeah, how to do this.
It's totally possible right now. And my recommendation to people who want to build an app with vibe coding, and they don't know anything about how, even like, let's say you know less than it's like completely blank slate.
Yeah.
All you need to say to Claude in this instance is, here's my app idea. Put as much information as you can. Like, think through everything you want this app to do. And maybe you don't know how apps or systems work. That's okay. Just put as much information as you know that you like about the app. Then put that into Claude. And before you hit enter, say, feel free to override any of my ideas or features with best practices or better design principles or UI UX suggestions. That's a really important phrase, is UI UX. That stands for user interface and user experience. User interface is what basically you interact with, what you see, and user experience is, they're kind of interchangeable. And it's the flow of how your app works, the how the buttons look, not just how they look, but how they talk to each other. All that stuff really makes a difference. So if you give everything you want, Claude is very good. And this is why Claude is better than ChatGPT. Claude will be like, don't do that. Do this instead. So that's your first way to make sure you're prompting an app that's actually going to function well. And then the second thing to do is like, which Claude did for me is like, okay, it was basically like, when do you want to get this done? Do you want to get it done in 4 weeks, 6 weeks? And I was like, let's try to do it in 4 weeks. So it gave me a 4-week plan, day by day, and what we were going to do on each day and like what the goal is on each day. And what I said to it, which is, and I do understand some systems, but I don't it handholds you every single step of the way. So when you say, okay, give me a 7-day plan. On day 1, it'll be like, okay, open your browser, put this in, click this, go to settings, click this, and then copy and paste the code I just wrote you, put it in here, and hit enter. That'll be like step 1 of 10. Step 2, get this code, go to this website, click this, this, and this. It literally walks you step by step. And if you want to understand what you're doing, you can say to Claude, write each step and give me a little brief on what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And it'll say, you need a backend database. A backend database is a server that stores all the input information that a user is going to put into the system. That stuff has to be stored. This is where we're going to store it. So it literally will hold your hand like you're a little baby. And it will, and this was hard 6 months ago. It is not hard anymore. It does it really well. And along the way, and you can also say, teach me along the way. And it will teach you. And you don't need to take a coding course. You can just ask questions along the way. And it will, you will learn by practicing instead of taking a course and then trying to apply it. You will literally learn as you go. And at the end, you'll have a fully functioning app designed in your image.
This is really, this is cool.
It's so cool.
I'm sorry that it's going to wipe out all the coding jobs, but this is cool. But okay, so are you using like Python and stuff like that? Like, do you still use that stuff or those websites? Because like
it uses different language depending on what
do.
part of the app you're working in. But you don't need to work. Like, that doesn't matter at all. Like, it'll tell you
what to do. It'll say like, go to this website. Yeah. Okay.
But it is a lot of Python. But you're doing shit, and it's kind of fun because it's like, any tech people listening to this are going to be like, oh my God. But like, you've probably never opened your computer's terminal, which is if you own a Mac or a PC and you go, you hit Command Space, type in terminal, and you'll see this black box come up. And it's sort of like the mystery box from which you can run almost anything. And it's like, you feel like a hacker when you that's where you would enter hack the mainframe if you were a hacker. You're inputting shit into this and you feel, this is what I discovered about myself doing this. I now understand why tech bros think that they're gods. Because
say more.
The high that you feel and the obsession that you feel when you're doing this is like, do I have all the power? Like, it is addicting. It is, I mean, I can't pull myself away from it.
So this is why so many of them have a god complex.
100%.
Because they are creating. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, us as women literally create human beings and push them.
We don't feel
out
like
of
gods.
Our badge. Yeah,
except that
we're just
literally
like
create life.
Yeah. Oh, this is really fascinating.
This
is
so
really
addicting.
Fascinating.
It's super addicting.
I'm gonna give it a go this weekend
You
and
should,
see if
you
I
should.
can do something.
You should.
Just
think
dabble.
of any app idea. Like, people are doing book recommendations or I don't know, like there's or building themselves a website like from scratch. That's a really good place to start. So it's really fun. It can, and it's hard too. Like, just because Claude is giving you every step of the way doesn't mean you deploy, which means you put out a version of your app and then you go use it and you're like, oh, I didn't think about this and I didn't think about that and I didn't, and this wasn't like working like I thought it would. So it's so much iterating. But you're just like sculpting something that you really like and that is really useful. And the cool thing is even though it seems like a lot of people are vibe coding right now, like normies, not a lot of normies are vibe coding. And you can right now make an app that could, like, that's for your closed circle of friends. Like, you can make a real impact by making a very specific app because it costs you almost nothing for the first time ever.
Cool.
So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do.
I love it. Oh my God. Okay, so when do we get to see your app? Are you going to show
Next
it to us
week.
on an...
And I want to tell you the name of it so bad. I like named it and everything. I can't wait.
Wait, you're going to make us all wait till next week to tell us the name? Oh, fine. Well, that'll just be a reason why everyone has to come back next week, including me. Well, I'm excited. Guys, thank you for being here. Come back next week and check out the app. If you aren't already subscribed and you're still here listening, what are you doing? Subscribe. Clearly you like this shit. Like, just come and join the family. Tell a friend. Make sure you're following us on all the things: YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. We're also on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on all the things. Email us at artificialinsanitypodcast@gmail.com if you have something that you would like us to cover, or if you just want to tell us that we're pretty, or if you want to tell us that we're ugly. That's fine too, because we have high self-esteem and we're just going to shake it off. Yeah. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you in 1 week. Bye.